Laiks diskusijai. Latvija un nākotnes tehnoloģiju laikmets, un uz skatuves un diskusijas vadītājs būs neviens cits kā Andris Ozols. Lūdzu.
Ozolkungs, lūdzu, skatuve ir jūsu. Tālāk
Paldies.
Jūs laikam zināt, ko darīt, vai ne?
Nu, ceru, jūs man palīdzēsiet. Nu, mēs
Varam
ar aplausiem pa vienam sveiksim šeit runātājus, kuri jau ir izteikušies, kuri ir jau prezentējuši savu redzējumu, bet ne tikai. Tātad mums talkā nāk arī mans priekšnieks, ekonomikas ministrs Arvils Ašeradens, tāpat būs arī Stefans Hyttfors, kurš ir futurologs, kas vēl nav runājuši šodien. Tā kā būs arī kaut kas pavisam jauns, bet no pārējiem mēs ceram sagaidīt tādu esenci, jeb kopsavilkumu. Tā kā tie no jums, kuri pēc darba pievienojās tikai tagad, tad jums ir iespēja sagaidīt, ka mēs jums īsi pastāstīsim, kas tad ir galvenais, kas rūp un kas nākotnes tehnoloģiju laikmetā mūs skar. Tātad Stefans ir šeit, Arvils Ašeradens, ministrs, tad tāpat Soulaima Gourani no Savienotajām valstīm. Soulaima, the floor is also yours, just come and join us. Mēs pārslēgsimies vienu brīdi uz angļu valodu. Skots Koens no Apvienotās karalistes. Scott, please welcome. We do not start yet. I just introduce all of you. Nu, no Spānijas, arī reizē no Hongkongas, ar mani kopā bija arī televīzijā reklamēja šo pasākumu Cecilia Tham. Not so cold anymore. Becomes better. And next, cybersecurity expert and evangelist of innovation from Israel, Menny Barzilay. Menny, where are you? So, dear guests, we are really proud, me, myself, especially proud having all of you here together. We have a very difficult task. We only half an hour to get an essence from your message. Minister just gives a hint that it is almost impossible, but whatever, we make sometimes impossible possible. This was what you all were also forecasting for the future. So, and I do suggest that we keep in mind that we are in Latvia, and knowing that you all are experts, actually, every one of you in particular field. That is what challenged us to set you together here. But we want to know about our country, and another part of my question will be, what do you think will happen to us, to Latvia? Should we just adapt and react, or we have a chances to influence what is happening in the world? And what do you suggest as an advice? So, and I would suggest that we go ahead and speak one by one, but the first who has not yet spoken is Stefan, you, and I suggest that you have a floor and say what you have to say to us. Latvia, technologies, innovation, please.
Hello, Riga. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to be speaking a little bit later, so if you want to stick around for that, maybe I can tell you a bit more. I'm going to talk about change. And I will try to emphasize the difference between change the old way. It used to be about cyclical change, about change that we might be able to manage because we have experience, so we might be able to sort of recognize the change we were being through, etc. And now we have a certain amount of disruptive change, different kind of change, not cyclical anymore, not necessarily so that you will survive it by experience and knowledge, because a lot of this change is about new knowledge. So when we talk about new technology, to me it has to do a lot about new knowledge, new solutions to old problems, and I will talk about that. I don't know if I should take more of your time right now, or
Maybe not in the first round, but definitely more of our time. We will have.
Sure.
You will have a chance. So you didn't understand what I said for all the Latvians. For some of you who have been speaking already, and others just joined us after their working day, and it's Friday, and they didn't hear everything you said during the day. And I think makes pretty much sense to repeat as an elevator speech this summary, what you think it is important for us to know here in this country. But the next I would suggest that speaks Soulaima Gourani.
Thank you so much. So I want us to just for one moment to hold our breath and think about Brexit and Trump, you know? Two amazing, unexpected things for people like me who are pro-open trade, pro-immigration, because immigration means innovation. There's only good things to say about immigration. No country has ever suffered from a high amount of immigrants, never. No matter how you do up the numbers, it will always be a net profit thing to that, so it's good. But I want to really emphasize in countries like Latvia or even like Denmark, where people are very, we look like each other, same color, more or less same shape. We have to be very careful that we don't end up like in Hungary or even the things that happen in Germany. I want you to believe, and this is very important, I want you to believe and be positive about the future. We have never had a more peaceful world. Technology is going to impact your life positively when it comes to education, health, finance, jobs, whatever. The future is bright. So don't let fear overtake your mind, but free global trade will somehow impact people to think that some will be losers and some will be winners. So we need more transparency, good politicians, young politicians, because you are the future. So we should, make sure you go into politics and impact it positively.
Thank you, Soulaima. I just wonder, my minister is sitting next to you, how can he become younger,
And how can he become a woman? Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Okay. You mean how to become a woman? I don't think it's a good recipe, in particular for him. Okay, next one, Scott Cohen, please.
What was the question?
The question,
How to become a woman.
Can you tell how to become a woman was not the question. Okay, let's get back to the serious track again. The next question is, can you say in short what you have told us in the morning session?
Oh, yeah. All right, so what I said, that took me 30 minutes, I'll try and do in 30 seconds. So,
you have 2 minutes.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I can sit back and take my time, 2 minutes. I started in the music industry back in the 90s and the mid-90s, and there was a lot of disruption then, which caused the companies that existed then to react in a negative way. And that disruption started with the internet and the World Wide Web and what could happen for it. Me, at the time, I embraced the change. I thought it was amazing and was going to build our future of the music industry. I had mentioned that the first MP3 player, the Diamond Rio, which came out in September 15th of 1998, were sued by the music industry as an illegal device. Imagine listening to digital music, they tried to stop it. But now the #1 source of revenue for the music industry that's in growth 20 years later comes from digital music. Over that 20-year period of the beginning of the digital age for music to where we are today, I actually thought was only going to be a couple of years. Otherwise, I wouldn't have jumped in, because you'd have to be fucking crazy to do that if you know the next 2 decades of your life is going to be devoted to telling people you will get music digitally. It's pretty obvious. I think that battle's been won. So now I started another company called the Cyborg Nest, and we're developing new senses for people. So we permanently attach, which I've done, I put 2 titanium rods inside my chest and attached a circuit board, so now I can sense the electromagnetic field of the planet. And maybe cyborgs are scary to people, but I think it's just like the music industry in the mid-90s. It seems like a threat, but actually at the end, it's going to be quite amazing for people.
Fantastic message. Actually, when we were asked once in a seminar in Sweden about creativity and creative industries, and music is obviously one of them, and the lecturer was asking, raise the hands, who is creative in this audience, and everybody just raised the hand, and everybody was just damn creative. Even all civil servants, all the bunch of bureaucrats in that room, they were damn creative. And one man didn't raise his hand, and I was first very silent, asking, who are you? But then the lecturer was asking, who are you from profession? And he said, I'm director of Swedish nuclear plant. And then we understood that's very good that some of us stick to to the predictability of our behavior. But okay, next speaker, Cecilia Tham, actually she rescued me, came with me together to Latvian Central Television, advertise what is going on, what is iNOVUSS. I wish I knew what is iNOVUSS, to say it in short. That was very impressive. I'm not going to repeat. I give a floor to her.
I don't want to repeat neither because I just talked about an hour ago. But I do want to say a few things. Never before have we been so empowered as individuals. And the problem is that we don't really know it. A lot of us, 99% of us, don't really have the sense that we have all this access to resources, these technologies, and that we can leverage this to be able to innovate on an individual level. So I also wanted to add that during my time in Singularity, I've realized that the technology can help us create this vision so far and beyond. So just wanted to throw out some examples for you. We talked about how in about 20 years, we can live forever. In 20 years, we would have the technologies to create longevity forever for each and every single one of us, meaning that our children will be able to live forever, right? We talked about how in about 15 to 20 years, we'll have the technologies to implant certain information so that we no longer have to learn in the traditional analog way. We can literally plug in chips and we can upload information and skill sets to us in our brain directly. We talked about different sorts of cloning, for example, where we can bring back animals that are extinct. We talked about information that are technologies that are far and beyond, and we need to not be afraid of these technologies, if not leverage it for ourselves and see how we can apply this technology for humanity and for the greater good. And I also wanted to add that one of the things that, even though we are in a world of a peaceful age, what is really concerning to me is climate change. And we talked a lot about climate change in Singularity. And I'm really concerned in the sense that, for example, if we don't do anything right now about corals, in 20 years, all of our corals will die. All of our corals will die. And if all of the corals will die, 70% of our fish species will die. And I didn't even realize the impact of what we have done so far as humans in impacting our climate change. And we have the power to change that, but that depends on each and every one of us. So my message is that let's not wait for someone else to solve our problem. How can we leverage all of these technologies ourselves to be able to solve all of these problems that we are confronting?
So facing a problem is a proper attitude instead of hiding away that we don't see anything. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, actually all of us here, except me because I'm a moderator, they are known, even famous in his or her relevant country, but that was not the reason why we invited you, because you are VIPs. We really prepared ourselves and we invited those who have something to say. You have sparkle in your eyes and you burn for your ideas. And I know not some, but many of you even came to Menny Barzilay especially. And for instance, Andris Ozols, our scientist who was speaking in another panel, was giving in his introduction that he wishes to listen to you. Menny, the floor is yours again.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. I love Latvia, I love Riga, I love the people, the women specifically. I love the food. No, just kidding. I love being here. I meet so many interesting people, so many smart people. I have so many intelligent discussion. I feel that Latvia is in a very unique position. There aren't a lot of advantages of being a small country. I know I come from Israel. Latvia is even smaller than Israel, but Israel is a very small country. There aren't a lot of advantages being a small country. But one of those advantages is that small countries can become a superpower with regards to innovation. And what you need is smart people. Obviously, you have that here. You need a lot of willing to do that, and obviously, you have that here. But what small countries can do, which bigger countries struggle, is develop an ecosystem where people from different places talk to one another. People from the industry talk to people from the academy, talk to people from the army, talk to the government. Entrepreneurs are able to do whatever they do because they have access to everyone. And I feel that while talking to people, this is my third time here, while going through the city, meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, hearing those ideas, I feel that it doesn't take a lot to make Latvia a very important and significant player in the world with regards to innovation. And the movement should start from young people that are willing to take real chances, real risks, and to fail again and again and again and again and again until they will succeed. You don't need a lot of success stories in order to create this ecosystem, because success leads to success. You start with small success stories and you build it up to huge success stories. I think Israel is very fortunate to have Latvia as a friend. I said it before, and I say it again. If we can find any way to do anything to do something together, I'm game. I will do whatever you want. So that's that. Good luck.
And vice versa, Latvia is very happy to have Israel as a friend. So,
thank you.
But usually it has a certain symmetry. It's difficult to claim that you are a friend, but you to another one not. Okay, Mr. Minister, Mr. Ašeradens is Minister of Economics, responsible for facilitation of science and technology and innovation startups, and also simultaneously Deputy Prime Minister of our country. What do you have to say?
Andris, we're running into trouble. You told me at the end of the day, at the end of the conversation, I will have 2 minutes to speak. Now we are just in the middle, and what we do in the rest of the time, and I will finish my speak. But okay, to be serious.
But knowing you, you sometimes exceed your time, you know. Politicians usually do.
Okay, but to be serious, is no doubt change is enormous, and it's not about technology, it's not about industries who are changing dramatically, it's even societies are changing, and it brings us to really magnificent time to live with. But if you look on political environment, this brings us in situation where we are completely ruining all the coordinate system, left, right, liberal, conservative. Now we're talking about 2 points of transaction. One is to become global, all protectionist. Yeah, that is where we're living now. And if you're speaking about roles of governments, that is a very important role and very challenging role. As much as possible, push from protectionism to the globalism side, and how to say for people, please don't stay behind this solid rock of protectionism and face global challenges. And that is very exciting. Yeah, that is very exciting. And that's the main issue for the governments. And to say it's not so simple, because the change brings another phenomena that makes people scary. Yeah, and you saw those effects, what's happened in really great countries, and that is effect of societies are scared of change, and they to say, time, just wait a minute. We would like to keep that, what we had, all the industry, all the occupations, all jobs, and we dealing, as a politicians, we're dealing with very old conservative structures. Yeah, for example, education system. Yeah, education system. It's to be honest, from time of Aristotle, there is very little change. Actually, it's the same pattern. People see children sitting behind a table and somebody telling them something what they have to know. And what is obligation, I see my role in this, is it's important to create at the first point as, let's say, points of disruption. Yeah, points of disruption. As I see, there is, of course, is startups. Startup come from the, let's say, critical mass of points to ecosystem, and that is startups. Second, of course, is universities, festivals like this, yeah, at least where those disruption points brings a change in human minds, yeah, in human minds, as we have to change things. So, for example, we speak about education, which actually is crucial here, is in those disruption points have to find a fundamental answer why we're teaching people now, yeah. I really can't find a professional education system who can answer this question now, because it's very complicated, most complicated issue, yeah? And then is, I would say, the critical mass of those disruption points, and then change will follow. That's my short answer to this, what we're trying to do here in this country.
But I hope you do not expect that our colleagues from this panel will immediately now answer this impossible question where nobody can answer. Eh? That is,
no.
We postpone it. But Soulaima, you were raising a hand. Eh?
Yes, because globalization is so important. And most people, you see it in Brexit, one of the reasons why they voted for leaving. So Great Britain is now becoming Little England. I think it's hilarious. But the thing is, it's one of the things is because globalization sounds scary. But actually, when you look to the data, the ones who benefit the most from globalization are the ones who voted no. Isn't that funny? I think it's funny. It's sad, right? Also, it's really, really sad. So when you look into globalization, there is one thing we have to remember. As politicians, as companies, it has to be inclusive globalization. We have to make sure that we go, fast forward, but does not leave anyone behind. And I could be, explaining for many hours companies who have been good at getting employees trained, schooled, and all that. But we still have a lot of companies who don't give a fucking beep to whatever happens to their employees. So we really have to make sure that companies and the politicians really understand that this is a common situation and we have to help each other. So inclusive globalization. But most people are afraid of going global. It's natural, but it's good for us. What's the option? There's no alternative.
Well, it's funny because I agree, but maybe I should disagree.
Absolutely.
Just to put it out there, because I'm uber left wing, but imagine that you're a farmer and you're growing some vegetables and you're trying to sell them locally, and then somebody in Holland who has an enormous factory farm ships it right into you and sells it and undersells you in your own country, and you have no way to compete with that. Or that there's hotels and restaurants in the center of Riga, and every euro you spend there leaves the country as fast as it can, and they offshore it. That's part of globalization. So it's not binary that it's good or it's bad. You have to live in a global world. You have to trade internationally. You have to have immigrants. They make countries stronger, not weaker. You have to have new ideas. But I think we've gotten in trouble in politics in the UK where I live, in America where I'm a citizen, with this polarization of good, bad, black, white, yes, no, up, down.
But it's not black and white. First of all, more and more people do buy local. So more and more people actually do concern about, buying local stuff, supporting local businesses. And yes, people come in, they start businesses, they take all their money with them, they don't pay tax, but they still employ people. So
it doesn't make up the difference.
Scott and Soulaima, I think you have a lot of things to discuss, two of you. We can arrange it also.
Yes, backstage.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody who else want to give a comment on our minister's remarks?
Yeah, Cecilia. No, I'm just kidding. I want to address this point because I think it's a very important point. People think that progress is good, and that's that. It's as simple as that. But we know that it's not just about globalization and it's not just about progress. It's about smart globalization and smart progress. For example, if we look about the world in 10, 15, 20 years, we know that we will have a lot of robots replacing people. And it seems like about 40% of the jobs are going to be taken by robots in the next 20 years, maybe even more than 40%. From one hand, it seems cool because we're talking about progress. But if we're not doing it in a smart way, we're going to create more damage than we do good. So the challenge now, and this is a very interesting challenge, is how to maintain progress while taking care of all those things that it's very hard to expect. I'll give you another example. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an amazing thing. It might solve sickness. It might solve, cancer and AIDS. It might allow us to go to a place where we can do a lot of new things that we couldn't do before. But some people, like smart people, right? Like Elon Musk, like Bill Gates, like Professor Hawkins, they say that artificial intelligence might represent the end of mankind. Because the moment you create a being that is smarter than people, this being has the ability to create another being which is smarter than itself, and this being will have the ability to create a smarter being, and then so on and so forth. So in a very short time, we will have a super smart intelligence. This is what they say, right? And in many senses, humans will be the only risk for its existence. So this machine might decide that in order to keep itself alive, it will be safer to eliminate all humankind. It sounds like science fiction, but smart people are afraid of it. And if I learned something in my life, is that when smart people say something, you better listen. Even if you don't exactly understand, and I many times don't understand what people tell me, because that's how stupid I am. So I agree with both of you in the sense that we need globalization, we need progress, but definitely not in all cost. we have to make sure we take care of the weak ones. And we have to take care about to those who don't know how to move with the change. We have to have a lot of responsibility towards one another.
Even though I comment on we need a globalization, I do not dare to reject this opinion, but it happens anyway, and either we are victims of it and we maybe adapt, or we take an integral part of it and benefit. And Cecilia, what you said in television was like technologies, not even speaking about gadgets, are neither good nor bad. The question is, what do you do with them, and what is your motivation and also intelligence behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. I also kind of want to address what has been said so far, especially about education. So one of my biggest concerns is that we're still teaching children in a very old-fashioned way, and we teach them to be one vision. We hone into one skill set, and that could be, you know, a profession. You become a doctor, and this is your lifelong career is supposed to be a doctor, for example, right? And my vision is that in the future, what we should be teaching children is to be more agile, to be able to be more flexible, to be able to have problem-solving skills, which we're not teaching nowadays to kids. And I think once we have, and that for me is a major mindset shift, because once we have a new generations of children that could think in a more flexible way, then we can deal with issues like AI, deal with threats of technologies that, you know, or maybe losing your job in the future, where you're not only taught one skills, you're taught to be able to handle situations where it's, you know, forever changing. And now technologies is happening in a rate so fast that if we're not agile, we're going to be in a shitty position. And so whether it is AI, whether it is globalization, and whether it is, you know, whatever it is, if we can set the future generations to be in this format, then we have a better chance of, you know, surviving the humanity.
Thank you. Stefan, you haven't been speaking for a while.
No, I didn't get a question, and I thought it was polite to wait for one. But yeah, I do agree that scalable learning is probably the most important issue. And if we would sort of think about the concept of an enterprise, even though we are talking about politics in a society, but how do you manage change as far as a corporation go? Well, today you see a total shift, a mindset, where we used to focus on scalable efficiency, how to make everything more efficient by being better and better and better at what we do each day, a little bit, growing all the time. And now, instead of that, we focus on scalable learning. So it's not about scalable efficiency anymore, it's about how can we scale in learning. And why would anybody, especially if you're young and if you have a talent, why would you join this corporation? Well, there is only one reason, because there is obviously no job security anymore. So there is only one reason to join, and that is because you learn faster if you're part of the team. If you don't learn faster, no use to be part of that team. So I think we need to apply that kind of thinking when we look at education as well, that how can we apply scalable learning? And one thing we know, when we compare scalable efficiency to learning, we used to talk about failure as not an option. That's when we were in the efficiency game. But of course, there's no learning if failure is not an option. So we need to make sure that failure is an option. As a matter of fact, it's the only option, because if we don't fail repeatedly, and if we don't take care of each other and make sure that we feel secure enough to fail, there will be no learning, and that will, in the end, be the safest way to say that we will be left behind.
Thank you. I very much personally myself appreciate that you encourage that failure is something, or as you just emphasized, the only way to learn. I'm not yet ready to say the only way, but if you say, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, what do you make? Everybody becomes afraid. Because if you really don't want that people are afraid, then offer a solution instead of just don't be afraid of either or. So, Mr. Minister, I will ask to our distinguished speakers here last remarks. We have just a couple of minutes left. What's about Latvia? Because if you, Cecilia, or also other speakers here were saying what is happening in the world, that educational process in the world is suffering because we do not allow kids to demonstrate their natural gifts because family wants heritage and you want that they inherit also your profession or whatsoever. But that is for the world. And we as tiny, whiny country with big ambition. We are, by the way, bigger than Israel in terms of territory. We are bigger than Belgium or Netherlands or Denmark. Huh? We are just only 2 million population, but the size of the territory is large. So, and we are ambitious. We want to be modern country. What is the recipe for us?
Then again, forget about size for a while.
Thank you. That was the only recipe yet. Anybody else? And then my minister will close up our panel.
Yeah, so I said it's about creating an ecosystem. It's about people meeting people, not discussions, not the senior managers, even not the leaders of the industry. It's about people working together with people. So what I suggest is that emphasize execution. Everyone from everywhere should help young entrepreneurs. Be committed to help young entrepreneurs. If you're a CEO of a bank, if you are a senior in the government, if you are just a person with money and you want to invest, whatever it is, be committed to help young entrepreneurs. Opening a startup is the hardest thing in the world. Anyone that can help in that process can surely increase the probability of that reach of success.
Fantastic. That was the best summary, really. Now, Minister has a different and most difficult task.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to, at the end, put this in a little bit broader perspective, and I would like to put in perspective of evolution. And we see there is definitely new cycle in evolution on the Earth. And you started spoken about artificial mind and said, oh, there's a constant process, but we have to remember every phenomenon on Earth have a dual size. We can argue for bad size and good size, but if we speak about evolution, always evolution has a positive reason behind it. And with that, I would like to finish today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, distinguished speakers. We have a very interesting schedule in front of us, also a very interesting day tomorrow, also some entertainment tonight. And once again, thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paldies, Ozols kungs!